When I was about 13 years old, I went to a pawn shop, and at the time I was really into this band called Joy Electric. They were like synth pop. They were kind of on this kind of Christian-y record label called Tooth and Nail Records. I was like allowed to listen to it because it was technically Christian, and then later I was not allowed to listen to it because they thought even though it was Christian, it was still kind of making me gay. But I persevered and kept listening. So there's this album called Melody by this band called Joy Electric. I still think it's brilliant. There's no other album like it, and I think it taught me how to kind of write melodies, and it began my obsession with like writing big poppy choruses, but like with a beautiful sadness within that. I'm listening to Joy Electric. It means so much to me. These songs are changing my life. It's really getting in my bone marrow, and I'm thinking I need to get an analog synthesizer. But how do I do that? They're expensive, and I'm poor. And I had a little money from things like I was a paper boy with my brother. Every morning we'd get up and at the crack of dawn, and we'd throw papers around town and make like nothing for it. Should be illegal. But eventually, from searching through like thrift stores and pawn shops, I stumbled upon my MS-10. It was $99, and I couldn't afford it. So I'm in this pawn shop, and I walk up to the counter, and I say to the lady, "Hi, you have my dream keyboard synthesizer." I think I used the word piano for a lot of people because they didn't know what a synthesizer was. You have an electronic piano in the back or a keyboard or something. I said, "I don't have money, but can you hold it for me? I'm going to go try to figure out a way to get $99. So I went home. She said she'd hold it for me. And I went home, and I actually worked up the courage to talk to my biological father about this. And approaching him was always a really scary thing. He was kind of this looming figure, a shadowy figure in our house. His office was in our house. Our house was a parsonage. It was on church property. He was the lead pastor of this church, or I view it as sort of a culty sort of community. Community sounds nice. It wasn't nice. It was awful. I tell him all about the synthesizer. I tell him I'm kind of desperate to get it, that it's a real steal, that I don't have the money for it, and I was hoping he could somehow help me or loan me the money or something. He listened but didn't say much, and then that was kind of it. And then the next day, he walks into the kitchen and tells me that he shocks me actually and says, I actually drove to the pawn shop and it had sold by the time I got there. I was going to get it for you. And I was just, the sweet things that my father has done for me, I can count on two fingers. And it was so sweet, so abundantly sweet. I really couldn't trust it. Anyway, I said, "Oh, well, she said she was holding it for me," and I was kind of bummed about that. He said, "Well, let's jump in the car and drive to the pawn shop." So we did, and I got there. The lady was there, and as soon as she saw me, she thought, "Oh, shit." And I said, "Hey, I thought maybe you were going to hold that for me." And she said, "Well, I know the guy that I sold it to. He lives in this trailer." So she's like, he lives in this trailer park, so we hightailed it to this trailer park. And my dad gets out, and I'm sitting in the car, and I'm watching this man that I don't know very well, who is my biological father, get up out of the car, knock on this trailer door, and this guy opens, smoking a cigarette with a beard, and they're talking a little bit, and then all of a sudden the guy shows up to the door, at the door with the synthesizer in hand and gives it to my father. My dad gives him cash. And next thing I know, I have this MS-10 sitting on my lap. And it's like this beautiful, sweet gesture. Out of nowhere, it felt like kind of like love, but it was also scary just being with him. And so there was this like blend of feelings happening, and I think that blend of feelings is like in all of my music, in most of it anyway, and certainly in the new song, I Want It All, but also in all of my records. It's kind of this blend, right, where there's a deep sadness kind of at the core, but it's also sometimes rolled in sugar where you're dancing to it, or it's not, but it's somehow still, I think it's the most beautiful emotions are kind of hybrid, right? And so I think because I had these little blips of sweetness sometimes, or intimacy with my mother or my father, but it was always wrapped in pain. Pain was everywhere. I think like that sort of mix has become fundamental to the art that I make. And this baby has been with me the entire journey from the very beginning. And I've also thought a lot about it, and like this MS-10 is, has been with me from the very beginning. It's my go-to, and I've collected so many different synthesizers throughout the years, and sold them. I get them, I play with them, don't like them or love them, but I get rid of them, and I keep the MS-10. And I wonder how much of that actually has to do with like holding on to one of the rare sweet moments in my childhood. It's kind of like at the end of the day, sometimes I like to eat a lot of candy, and it's always been mysterious to me. Sometimes I'll eat so much that I start feeling sick, and I'll keep eating it. I think it's because like the only time my mother showed me sweetness is when I was actually sick. She'd bring me ice cream, so I connected sweetness with sickness, and there's like a tenderness in it. Life is crazy. I hope this made sense. Love you. Also, funny little tidbit for you kind of like techie audio people. This synthesizer was kind of like what I used to create bass sounds on my first couple albums, and I still sometimes do it. A bass guitar sound. I was too broke when the band started to afford a bass guitar, and I didn't know how to play it, and so I would use the electric guitar that I had for this kind of string sound, like ding 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 on the string, and then I would use like the sub on the synthesizer, and I'd blend them together, and your brain just thinks it's a bass guitar because you're getting the sub, you're getting the bottom, and you're also getting that kind of ding 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 of the string. So you just make it work, and then it like becomes its own charm, and then you can be in a successful band. And I forgot to say, I'm doing all this because I'm deciding to like just give a lot. That's what this record, this single's about. It's like giving a lot. I want it all. I'm gonna give it all. And so go check out the new song, which is kind of that dual emotion thing, right? It's like, why can't I forget you? It's like this desire to let go. But then the very next thing I say is, oh, but I want it all. I want it all. And so right there's like the two conflicting, these emotions that are at odds, but they're best friends. They're like lovers. They're fucking each other. They're fucking me too. You go into life, you do what you want. You make it as beautiful as it can be. Like this shirt, it's like, be you. Brigham Young University. It's a evil Mormon university in Salt Lake City, but I just decided to make it what I wanted, which is butt baseball. Hell yeah.